From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE, and in this recording we go over those monthly stimulus checks under the fourth stimulus package, but I also jump into the live chat, interact with you, and I answer your questions. Meantime, I go over the surprising details about this stimulus and those comments from the head of the Economic Council to the president and his claim that the capital gains tax may not impact you. I'll be going over his words and my analysis, and we'll see whether his words are accurate or they are not. This is a big Afternoons recording. Let's get to it. This is Afternoons LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Afternoons LALATE with a quick update today about your fourth stimulus. Coming up after this is the big Afternoons LALATE recording, which is in about an hour and a half from now. That's going to be a monolith. That's at about an hour and a half after this, and then we go into Evenings LALATE. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also, like this video. If you've not become a member, consider becoming a member. I'm going to be jumping in the live chat in this video and answering your questions. So bring those questions. First, let's go over fourth stimulus. That fourth stimulus check is the biggest stimulus check you're ever going to see in the history of this channel. Because it's robust, it applies to you, and it's monthly, month after month. Those stimulus checks are part of a push from Democrats in the House and Democrats in the Senate. Let's compare. The House Democrats would give you a stimulus check every month for the pandemic plus 1 year, upwards of 18 months of stimulus checks. The senators would give you a stimulus check for now to the remainder of the year, about 6 months of checks. Who are the people at play? Well, the House members are more progressives. The senators are more moderates. They have a lot of other legislative items they want to add to the stimulus package. More about that later in this broadcast. And how much of the monthly checks? The House members, it would be $1,000 the first month. Excuse me, $2,000 the first month and $1,000 thereafter. The senators, the amount is unknown, but word on the street is it's this. Word on the street is the four stimulus checks would look like this from the Senate. $2,000 a month over 6 months, $12,000 a person. Or $1,400 a month, $8,400 a person. Yes, this is you. And yes, you would qualify for this. This is the single biggest payout that any viewer of this channel has ever gotten. Who would get this? You would get this if you got the third stimulus check. If you make less than $75,000, single individual, $150,000, married couple. If you're on SSI or SSDI, Social Security or Rural Benefits, and a household of 4 or less, this is you. To which a series of questions some viewers have been asking, which are a series of things like the following. What month would the stimulus check start? July. It's a July check. When are they going to vote on it? July. Will there be waves of the check? No, they can't have waves. They have to send out the check every month. Now they can have them coming in different days of the week, but they can't do waves. Great question. People are saying, are people on benefits going to get the check later after everyone else? Are we going to get the July check in November? No, they can't do that. They got to come in that month. So it's going to be totally different than everything we've seen before. Is it income? No, not income. Doesn't qualify towards income. Would not disqualify you for benefits and would not count as assets on hand. When would that start again? The month of July, as a July check for you. Now, here's what you need to know starting Afternoons today. We have never, ever gotten clarity from this administration about what else is in the fourth stimulus. Which bridges, roads, infrastructure, which climate, which things like that. But the big item we've never gotten clarity about is the taxes. Which taxes are going to be touched under the fourth stimulus? We've heard it will include corporate taxes, but we've never heard what rate, for how long, for what manner, and how it will be changed. Not clear. We've heard it may include inheritance tax, never heard for who, for what rate, or for how long as well. So understand that is the lack of clarity the White House gave us for forced stimulus. Now, when guessing about forced stimulus for purpose of corporate tax rate, Wall Street, you and myself are not too concerned about it because the corporate tax rate that we're hearing is going to be a 2 to 3% change, not a big of an event at all. But when we talk about this stimulus, that SSI reform coming in the fall, what is the tax rate being proposed to be changed? Nearly doubling it. And today, this guy, just minutes ago, Brian Deasy, the head of the Economic Council for the President of the United States, the Larry Kudlow equivalent of the Trump administration, spoke to press. And when asked about the fifth stimulus, he was asked, are we going to see capital gains raised and capital gains tax raised under the fifth stimulus package in September? He said yes. They said, what percentage? He said, I'm not going to tell you. We don't know. What do you mean you're not going to tell us? We haven't made a determination. But then in the same breath, he said, but 99% of Americans won't be impacted by it. Well, excuse me. How about you answer the first question before we go to the next thing? First, he doesn't tell us how the capital gains will be changed. He doesn't say for who, for how, and by what manner. But then he's quick to say who's going to be impacted by it. How can we know if you're being accurate telling us who's being impacted by it if you don't tell us what the rate is? It's sort of obvious. And here's another thing. Wall Street's not buying it today. They don't think he's being forthcoming. Well, let me explain why. A new report in the #1 financial broadcast channel today says that just of people who are in the stock market that own stocks, shares of companies like Tesla or NIO or Facebook, 25% of them will be impacted by the capital gains tax that's being proposed under the fifth stimulus. So how can this person appear before press and say 99% of Americans won't be impacted by it when the broadcast media immediately was quick to say that 25% just the stock owners are going to be impacted by it? Now understand, if you buy and sell houses, you could be impacted by it. You buy and sell cars, you could be impacted by it. If you buy and sell antiquities or antiques or knickknacks or have an Amazon reselling channel, you could be impacted by it. And if you think that was confusing from this man, who I'll add has never worked a day in his life, he's always been just a person in politics. He's been a career politician in administration after administration. What did he also say? He said that most Americans, the vast majority of all Americans make their money as salary employees. Excuse me? He basically said that everyone in America is a W-2. No, they aren't. The vast majority of Americans are not W-2s. I don't know where this guy is coming from. The 40-something-year-old appeared before press and said the vast majority of Americans make their money as W-2 employees, and hence they will not be impacted by capital gains tax. Well, let's just go over that. They are not. As we saw over the last year, we had our UI people and our PUA people, and there's a lot of PUA people. Independent contractors, sole practitioner, gig workers, Uber, Lyft, Grubhub. There's a lot of self-employed people in America. And to say that everyone is getting their income as a W-2, oh boy. So that's how we're doing so far as we go into the afternoon. Let me jump into the live chat and see your reaction so far to the news of how someone is debuting the fifth stimulus package for this fall. It's just one of those, really. I don't know what's with this office. First we have Larry Kudlow, and now we have this. Nope. Who is this guy, says Ann. Yeah, who is this guy? He spoke without doing his homework, says Bonita. Well said, Bonita. Well said, Ann. Yes, I mean, to say that the vast majority of Americans make their money as W-2s, I wish the contractors were listening in, the construction, the plumbers, the electricians, the Uber Lyft drivers, the sole practitioners. They're so secretive that it's 99% really, says Ann. Yes. It's really surprising that that we're being pitched what it isn't, but not being pitched what it is. Here's what you need to know, is that in 2020, this channel was deeply critical of politicians who gave us superlatives and America the Beautiful narratives, but they wouldn't give us numbers. And we went over this a lot in 2020. When politicians wouldn't give us the specifics, kept on giving us numbers. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. That when we look to fifth stimulus, we don't still know what's in fifth stimulus. What is fifth stimulus? It's the American Family Plan. Yeah, what about the American Family Plan? We're going to give more money to children, $24,000 to 17-year-olds over 6 years. But we're already giving them money. We now have to give them more money? What else is in the American Family Plan? We're going to find out this week what else is in the American Family Plan. But it's not particularly clear why the capital gains tax has to be done or change for the American Family Plan. Let me circle back for something else which I haven't touched on in a while. In mid-2020, Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve, made very clear that this economy can sustain a lot more spending for stimulus. I said that a lot, remember? I said, Jerome Powell says when you compare other countries and how much money they spent on stimulus, we've spent very little on stimulus. We can afford to spend a lot more on stimulus. What he meant by it is we can take the debt on. We can just spend a little bit more on stimulus and take on the debt. So why, if we have to do an American Family Plan in October, are we suddenly trying to tax capital gains? And why, when we're doing forced stimulus this July, are we touching inheritance tax, corporate tax? Why not just do it? Why do we have to change the tax code to do it? The president has not made clear why he has to do it, why he has to tax something. Here's another thing that's on the horizon, is that even if you touch the corporate tax rate on the forced stimulus, it still doesn't pay for forced stimulus. Forced stimulus still carries a debt with it. Let's go back to that big money under the forced stimulus package and the big money you could get. It's still happening. It's still happening. But people are now getting a little bit perplexed about why we're hearing about fifth stimulus when we haven't even gotten fourth stimulus out the door. Let's look at that fourth stimulus graphic again. Here it is. So the fourth stimulus would go for a vote in July. Well, when would it start as a bill? Has it started as a bill? No. When would it start as a bill? No later than May. It would take 2 months to do it. Well, why are we starting on something that is in September when we haven't even written the bill for forced stimulus? That's not particularly clear. Why haven't we gotten clarity as to what taxes will be changed for forced stimulus before we start talking about the taxes we're changing for fifth stimulus? That's also not clear. And why is the president's economic council advisor, all 40-something years old, telling Americans that 99% of Americans will not be impacted by capital gains when that's simply just not true? It's just categorically untrue. Here is what, and that Americans make their money as a W-2 employee, which is also untrue. It's really unclear what's going on. Ultimately, you and I know that focus is a very big issue with this channel. And I never like when an administration starts doing too many things at the same time. Not particularly clear why this president's focusing on fifth stimulus when we don't even have fourth stimulus done as well. Thank you for the super chat. And that was from Alicia. Miguel Cardona. Alicia wants to contact Miguel Cardona. Oh boy, I haven't even gone there yet in this recording. Miguel Cardona is among some of the other issues that Americans are starting to have an issue with this administration. Here's what you need to know. Alicia, with the super chat, said, what about that student loan debt forgiveness? Here's an issue. In October, when the president ran the presidency, Chuck Schumer met with the president-elect and said, let's do student loan debt forgiveness. Circle back one more time later. And then he met with him in January. I haven't made this determination. He's like, it's been 3 months. Make up your mind. Then he met with him 2 more times with Elizabeth Warren. Wouldn't make up his mind. Finally, he said, okay, I'll have Miguel Cardona, my education secretary, write up a memo to see whether I can forgive it by student loan debt. Now, let's pause for a second. I haven't said this before on this channel. Why have Miguel Cardona write a letter when we already know it's been done before? He wants Miguel Cardona to write a letter if the president can forgive student loan debt by executive order. But Obama did it and Trump did it. So why do you have to have someone even tell you that? We already know they did it. Why are we having someone write up a letter to say the obvious we already know the answer to? Well, that was that. And then the deadline to get the letter came and passed. And it's passed, and it's really passed, and it continues to pass. Why is the president not getting it to it? He's pushing it under the table. Now, if this sounds familiar, it should. Why does it sound familiar? Because of the SSI reform letter to the president last week. This one. SSI reform, which would come under a fifth stimulus, was written by congressional leaders, House members, and senators that are Democrats, not Republicans, Democrats. And look at all these signatures. You know what they said in all these signatures? You promised this. Where is the promises being upheld? You promised this. And while you can't see it in the graphic because it is a small image, there is footnote after footnote in this letter citing there are some footnotes you can see, signing the transition papers, saying you promised to do this in your transition papers, line, page number, why haven't you done it? You were supposed to do it under fourth stimulus. You haven't done it under fourth stimulus. You haven't done it under third stimulus. So we're going to put it into fifth stimulus. We're going to increase the benefit limits. We're going to increase the asset limits, add a new inflationary benchmark, and we're going to remove the income exclusion and the marriage penalty. Now, a lot of these things don't need a bill. They can be done by executive order. But here comes the same question again. Why wasn't it done? It's like the Miguel Cardona situation. The Miguel Cardona ordered to go do something, doesn't do it. The SSI reform being promised and then not being done. And here we sort of circle back again. Alicia Hall says, thank you, LA. Let me jump back into the live chat and see some more of your questions. If you have questions or comments, drop them right now. Someone said, I found Miguel Cardona's image on the back of milk cartons. He's missing. Bonita, 500,000 unemployed businesses shut down for good jobs. So Bonita's going to the point of what that Economic Council chair, the all 40-year-old that has hardly worked a day in his life ever, just gone from administration to administration as his paycheck, says that Americans are all W-2 people. What do you mean we're all W-2 people? And that no one's going to feel the impact of a capital gains tax rate. Here's another rub to that subject matter. He says that changing the capital gains rate won't affect 99% of Americans. If that was true, then why would you do it? If that was true, then why would you do it? It wouldn't raise you any money. If it doesn't affect anyone's pocketbook, then it wouldn't raise you $1 trillion for the fifth stimulus package. It's a little contradictory there. You're doing it because it does generate you a lot of money. Fifth stimulus is going to cost $1 trillion. And that reason why they're going after capital gains is to pay for the $1 trillion. To think that the contention is that it's not going to affect Americans, well, that's why you're doing it, to raise money for the fifth stimulus. Not particularly clear across the board. Let me jump back into the live chat. Has he gone crazy? Alicia. Will there be bailing out people who rack up $10,000 in credit cards or paying off $50,000 in mortgages? Murphy's Law. Oh, Murphy's Law. I love your question. You know why I love Murphy's question? Because it brings me back to something else I wanted to bring up. Third stimulus. January, February, March stimulus, the one that's law. You know what has not landed from third stimulus? A lot of items, including mortgage assistance. And a series of reports were published last week said, why have it delayed to get mortgage assistance out? Why? Because then people's properties default. They go into bankruptcy, they're foreclosed upon, and then you give them mortgage assistance. None of the money for homeowners and for renters from the third stimulus has yet to go out, and that's going out in May. Why? It's stimulus. It was passed in March? And when we're talking about people on the brink of losing things, you have that money go out immediately, not after they get the money. So that doesn't make sense as well across the board. You and I have been tracking the stimulus checks, but there's a lot of other items under third stimulus that has yet to go out. Let me see some more of the questions and comments. Time is running out, says Jenny. Why do I get a one group and not an why does one group get it and not another? Oh, that's a great question. So there have been some other legislative proposals in the last 3 days from like Bernie Sanders that I'm not covering because they don't make a lot of sense. Bernie Sanders wants to tax the middle class and give it to another group of people. I mean, Bernie Sanders just sort of taxes this group and gives it to another group. He doesn't, it's not Elizabeth Warren taxes. Elizabeth Warren taxes billionaires and trillionaires. Bernie Sanders just taxes one group and gives to another group. For example, he wanted to tax people who make under $150,000 a year and give that money to other people so that they could put their kids to college for people who make six figures. Wait a second, you make six figures. Why are you taxing someone else to get them money? It doesn't make sense. Bernie Sanders' math makes less sense than Brian Deasy. But in the case of what's going on here with the capital gains tax, no one likes when a politician tells you no, yes, no, yes, but then won't answer the specifics. Don't tell me it's not going to impact this group unless you tell me the tax rate. Don't tell me it's not going to do this unless you tell me the details. This is the problem we had with the Temple Doom in 2020. She would constantly not tell us the numbers. And Steve Mnuchin, remember Mnuchin versus Pelosi on this channel, usually about this time slot? Mnuchin will always say, I gave her money for this. She says she has no money. I offered her $600 billion for this thing and $300 million for that. She keeps on saying, I gave her no money. So this is why numbers are a big issue. And ultimately, viewers always take this to heart, that think that people are not telling you numbers because they're trying to pull a fast one over you. But Wall Street takes it a different way. They take it a different way, that they can't figure out what the risk is because we're not being told what the numbers are. Let me see some more questions and comments right now. There is for sales. Let me, here's one chat comment. Let me grab that one right now. It's coming from Murphy's. That new bill that Biden wants to give you $25,000 for the new home buyers. Conditions you must use as a down payment and then get a lower percentage. Please look it up and share it with others. Help seniors with mortgages, says Diane. But I don't know if more states than Wisconsin. Taxing people who make 5 figures to give it to people who make 6 figures? Ridiculous, says Ann. Yes. These things are just not really making sense. And that ultimately, here we are as we start the afternoons. You're getting fourth stimulus, but for purposes of fifth stimulus, it's starting to become peculiar. Why are we hearing about sort of the peripheries of fifth stimulus when we don't hear the core? The core of it is that SSI reform, but that core is not coming from the president. It's coming from the Democrats, senators, and House members. The president is doing this. I'm sort of going to tell you what the taxes are, but I'm not going to give you the specifics. And then when people want to ask the specifics, then he won't tell us the specifics. I'll have more of this analysis coming up on Afternoons LA, which is in about an hour and a half from now. That recording will go over all the details about what really is going on with this tax push from the president. I'll also be going on over what's happening with those corporate earnings this week. All those details are coming up next on Afternoons LA. Its second show heats up in about an hour and a half, 2 hours from now. I hope you join me on that big broadcast. That's Afternoons LA, which is followed then by Evenings LA. 2 big more shows today, and the excitement is far from over. I'll see you in 2 hours from now as Afternoons LA returns, and then we go into Evenings LA. If you've not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Also like this video. Stay informed, stay focused, keep on smiling. Don't go for vague situations, go for the specifics. Always push for the facts and stay with LA for more.